you've been following stocks and that. And yeah, so we'll get right into it. I'm Thomas Wolf, and the outline for this will be, so new segment that I'm doing. I was doing a bunch of NFT workshops, but the market on NFTs obviously come down quite a bit. Just giving that a little bit of a break. But just testing out a new segment where I'm going to cover some large news that's been happening, like macroeconomic level, and considering the effects across multiple asset classes with my commentary and insight. So, not financial advice, giving the standard disclaimer here. Nothing in the presentation is financial advice. I may own or have exposure to assets mentioned here. Everyone's situation is different, and the commentary is in my opinion only. Having said that, I've been investing for 8 years in total, since university, finance and economics degree. Tried a lot of different business models. These days, managing my portfolio, trading, consulting, and affiliate marketing mostly. So with this session, I'm wanting to get some feedback from you guys, what kind of stuff you guys are interested in investment-wise. So feedback during and after this presentation appreciated. We're going to have some networking time, because I'm also lots of people at these I haven't met yet, because I've just come back to Bali after a while. And good chance to find others with potential synergy. So some people who are into NFTs and stocks, whatever it may be, you can find other people at these events to network with. It's good. Alright, so yeah, this week has been pretty hectic. Good timing for covering this. If you were watching some of the earnings reports from earlier this week, so jumping right into it, it's been a rough year all year for stocks. Really, there was barely any time. Pretty much since January 1st, stocks have been going down, and right now we're at negative 20% on the SPX, pretty close to the 3,800 level. Little bit of recovery from down here though, like October. Some people have been saying like, it's been a trend that October has generally been good, but of course trends don't always continue. But so far October has actually been good, but still a long way to come before this year is at all close to being profitable. So the huge earnings sell-offs this week, what happened? So we had CPI, the American Inflation Index, 8.3%, which was still going up for the month, up 0.1%. And if you've been following, you know that the Federal Reserve is desperately trying to get interest rates down to make inflation go down, but yet here we are with another increase in the CPI for the month. So really, is it helping all that much? Is these hikes doing enough, interest rate hikes? They're remaining committed to fighting inflation, so we'll see how that goes. US GDP came in at 2.6%, which beat 2.3% expected. So that's some positive signs, but many analysts are still expecting that next year could be a recession. But of course, many different analysts have different opinions. So again, we see the information coming in as we see it. Consumer spending down compared to last quarter, 1.4% growth, 2% growth last quarter. So people are tightening up a little bit. That's not so good for Amazon and, well, Amazon primarily from here. So they got a big hit, negative 21% after their earnings last night. Meta is still completely committing to the metaverse, which is a pretty controversial move from them as well. Even Microsoft and Google still got quite large drops. Just like a lot of it related to this consumer spending figure coming in way below the expected 2%. Economists were hoping that people would be spending a little bit more. Of course, higher interest rates are still looming. There's been multiple increases in the basis rate, and yet inflation is still at 8%. So where do we invest at the moment? So yeah, S&P 500 at 3,800, as I said. Nasdaq 10,800. That's a 32% decrease year to date, indicating again that the technology stocks have been hit very hard this year. Some other sectors have been doing well, like energy, which is good for if you're in some of these indexes that have energy covered, then that's not too bad. But moving to an index-heavy allocation to shelter from individual swings can be a good idea, seeing how heavily impacted some of these stocks have been. And if you're into options, you can get large exposure to some of these gains on short side and long side with a cap downside. If you know an option you buy, either a put or a call option, what you've paid for it is the max you can lose, and the gains are up to the infinite. So options is a good way to kind of reduce downside in this kind of environment, because people who are going pretty heavy into buying these stocks outright, it's not so great when you see like a huge decrease in your portfolio when these days can happen. Of course, like being in a stock around earnings time is always going to be risky as well. Alright, so on to crypto. So Bitcoin, it's been finding both a support and resistance around 20K now for a little while. I'm still looking out for undervalued, beat up crypto assets to DCA into. So there's been quite a lot of new stuff happening news-wise, so it's down here. Primarily Bitcoin and ETH, just DCAing into that. And large alts like AVAX, I'm quite a big fan of AVAX too. On a technological level, I think it's pretty solid. If you're into some of the higher risk stuff, like I'm still bullish on GameFi and Metaverse, particularly Mana, Sand, GMT, on making a strong return under better market conditions, because guilds and players from games such as Axie Infinity will be hungry for more action. If you weren't aware, Axie Infinity was the biggest crypto gaming game last year. It's been hit significantly hard in the bull market, but I think the concept has been proven well for a return under better market conditions. Of course, like it's been very hard to retain players because the tokens they've been earning have dropped down significantly. So with Axie Infinity, that was SLP. SLP, during its heyday last year, players were able to make pretty significant incomes, like hundreds of dollars a month in places like the Philippines and Vietnam. Pretty good money over there. But now that token's come down a lot. So, but I still think that concept has been proven, that these guilds and players will be hungry to play good quality, well-structured tokenomics GameFi projects. So I've got my eye on those still. Swing trading. Swing trading momentum players. So as I said, like BTC 20K level, there's been some really good moves on the upside and the downside, particularly like this was the latest massive drop here earlier in July. And then it's been a lot closer in the last 3 months, but still some good moves in and amongst this. If you're into Bitcoin, of course, that's like the prime one to be trading these moves, because Bitcoin leads the way. And if you have been trading more often, you can take a look at the secondaries, because if you're fast on news or moves after Bitcoin, you can capitalize on that as well. So some news-based stuff. So CZ from Binance put 500 million into Elon Musk's Twitter buyout, which closed yesterday. Out of the $44 billion that Elon Musk paid for Twitter, CZ was 500 million, so a little over 1% of that. It's pretty cool for Binance and for crypto exposure on the platform. That's cool. The UK has a new Prime Minister who has spoken about crypto multiple times. We'll see if that has any action though, because in Europe particularly, Paris has kind of shown itself to be like leading in European regulation. Binance and Crypto.com, OKX already have a presence in Paris. So the UK's already got some catching up to do, but we'll see if the new PM has some interesting stuff to offer. Revolut as well. So Revolut is a large payment processor. They're adding crypto payment features next month. I'm a big fan of just this ongoing adoption happening as well, because as the crypto users in the world continues to go into hundreds of millions, it's gonna be like the internet in the early 2000s, where once enough people are actually transacting regularly in crypto and really interested in crypto beyond just the price, that's when more institutions and just more people's daily life will actually having knowledge and an investment in crypto. The Celsius collapse is still ongoing as well. Significantly impacting sentiment on this one, because as a custodian provider in the crypto space, Celsius was obviously responsible for like hundreds of millions of people's, well, tens of millions of people's crypto allocation. And for Celsius to go down a holder of that magnitude, this is still well, going to have a big effect on people's risk management going forward. Which is why I recommend that you hold most of your crypto wealth securely in a ledger and only smaller investments that you're comfortable with in these kinds of projects, because if it's not your seed phrase, not your crypto. Right, so moving on from stock and crypto. So with the NFT market, still going to touch on it, even though the NFT market has come down considerably since earlier in the year. I've still been praising ENS names, over 2.6 million registered and growing fast. This is a play I like a lot in NFTs at the moment. They're consistently in the top 10 of daily volume. It's been going on for months. It's a good online flex on Twitter, or just like in general, if you send me crypto, easily receive it to your .eth wallet. So it's a good, like, you know, send me crypto to thomaswolf.eth or whatever your company, your brand name .eth. Pretty good use case on that. Mastermind and community-related projects. So a lot of people are into Neo Tokyo and Bored Ape Yacht Club still, because they're very exclusive NFTs and they have event access and IP ownership, networking value to them. So if your particular niche, what you're in business-wise, has a good relation with the people that are doing a project that you like, then that's a good synergy and a good networking value, event access sort of bonus that you're getting for your NFT. Although again, like, NFTs are the highest risk out of all the things I'm covering on this, so again, just be aware that they can go completely to zero. I'm still watching new projects of potential in these rough market conditions, as well as technologically impressive projects with true utility cases. So, I mean, the true utility is still coming out with these NFTs. It's generally gone beyond just the profile picture stuff that was early market. Also airdrops. So Blur.io is the latest marketplace that's just done an airdrop. So if you were buying or selling anything on OpenSea in the last 6 months, you can check in at Blur.io and you should have at least one package drop that they just did. And Optimism was a really good airdrop earlier in the year too, which I think I got about $600 for free on that airdrop, so that's pretty good. And also, use a burner wallet to claim airdrops generally is good guidance. Although on Blur.io you have to have actually traded an NFT using that wallet, so probably your main wallet on Blur, but generally better to use a burner wallet for any NFT stuff, if you can. Okay, so talking about cash. So cash is still a position. Personally, I'm still growing cash and stablecoin reserves for buying opportunities, reduced exposure to pounds and euros. High chance that the USD can retain strength with the EU energy crisis ongoing. International payments in dollars, so oil particularly. Seen as a safe currency, traditionally JPY was as well, but that's seen a large devaluation this year. The USD index is up 15% year to date, as you see here. So the dollar just seems to keep getting stronger this time. Not guaranteed that it will keep going, but I think there's a pretty high chance of at least retaining this level for a little while longer, particularly while the energy crisis is still going on. So just personally, I've reduced exposure a lot to other currencies, holding cash, waiting for buying opportunities. Property. So, interestingly enough for us, Indonesia has announced a second home visa, just launched ahead of the G20. If you put 2 billion rupiah, about 130K in an Indonesia bank account, you can get up to a 10-year visa. So this is interesting for us living or interested in investing in Indonesia. People have been wanting this for a long time. I think that's a really good idea that they've done, good timing on this. A good emerging economy with large upside, multiple ownership options, and easy to set up a company. So of course I could go on and on about stuff with property here, but just to give an idea's view of different sectors I'm watching with this episode, and then we're taking some feedback. Alternative assets, the last thing here. So a lot of people are into luxury watches, although they also saw a big comeback from highs. So like if you're particularly into Rolex or AP Patek, like these well-designed models can be really good and easy to carry around investments too. It's better than carrying like a big load of cash. Although of course there's also gold, which is even down 9% year to date as well, just like pretty much everything else. Where do we park value right now? So if you're trying to stockpile cash, or if you have any preferences to anything that I mentioned already, then time for some Q&A where I can dive deeper into a particular asset class in the next episode of this. Feedback and suggestions appreciated, and for my further contact information is here. So how's everyone's portfolio looking so far this year? Trading, gold, into luxury watches, want to buy an Indonesian property, interested in the visa. If anyone's got any comments or feedback, that'd be great, because this is the first time that I've been doing this one, and I want to niche down a little bit for the next episode, so it gives more time to go deeper, because of course I didn't have that much time to go into all of this stuff today. This was more just covering some of that recent news and just getting people's thoughts so we can do some networking as well. So
it was definitely kind of information overload.
Yeah.
It was just non-stop. This other thing, this other thing, this other thing.
Yeah.
Plus the visual of so much text also just adds to information overload.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you for that. Which was like a sticking point of anything covered?
Well, it was so much, and
Too
we
much.
were on to the next thing so fast that I didn't really have time to get into one thing or really digest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're saying you're going to go into a deeper dive, so that's kind of where you're going anyway.
Yeah.
And then what else to say? Like just slides, like way less text.
Way less text. Yeah. More
Like
gaps.
Yeah, if you need the text for your presentation, have that on like something separate that you're looking at.
Yeah. Put it on the whiteboard maybe next time.
Yeah, but like just like a few lines on a slide. 'Cause otherwise,
Yeah, but this one was pretty heavy.
yeah, that's crazy.
This one, this one maybe.
Information's pretty good.
But you can read this from
Well,
it's still a little bit too much text.
it's too much text.
I'll get it more leaned down next time.
Yeah.
I was just getting a lot out because I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on some of this stuff too.
It's
Yeah.
always, it's better to have more slides, less text per slide.
Yeah. Alright. Noted.
Yeah.
What stablecoin are you using at the moment to store?
So you can mix it between USDT, USDC, Binance USD. I advocate having it in multiple stablecoins just in case there's any crazy things happening with the peg. Yeah. Of course UST was just a whole beast of its own, but yeah. I reckon still having some diversification even in the stablecoins is a good idea, yeah.
You were talking about crypto adoption and more people taking payments in crypto.
Yeah.
What do you see Bitcoin being the transactional currency?
With Bitcoin, not so much. Like, have you been seeing some of the? Oh, I should have covered that as well. Actually, with Bitcoin earlier in the week, there was an 85-minute block time, which is one of the highest block times ever been on the blockchain, on the Bitcoin blockchain. So imagine you're in a shop or waiting for a deal. 85 minutes is quite a long time. Like, You know, did everyone, like that could have seriously affected a lot of businesses that were doing Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
that's what I'm
as far as Bitcoin is, I think Bitcoin's good for large transactions, where there's not such an immediate time pressure. But for transactional stuff, like in a shop, example, yeah, you want to have a much more, you want to have a much more faster blockchain like AVAX, for example.
So what do you see happening with Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin, of course, is still the OG, biggest and the most like reputable, respected crypto out there. Like, of course, it doesn't mean it's going to hold the lead forever, but just for kind of the next safest allocation to put crypto assets into, I think Bitcoin still holds up. But at the moment, probably more like a stable coin. Yeah, transactionally, of course, was better, but for security purposes and for the large transaction stuff, I still reckon Bitcoin's pretty solid for that.
Yeah. What do you like so much about AVAX?
Well, just for transactional capability, I should have brought up the figures, but compared with Ethereum, you can see how much faster the transaction per second and the lower cost is with AVAX compared with Ethereum and Bitcoin. Although at the large transaction, it's still like very small percentage anyway, but day-to-day stuff, of course, a $10 fee on a $1 purchase is crazy. So it's all relative. With AVAX, though, the transaction speed is very impressive. So,
But that's the main use case for AVAX is transactions or what?
it's, well, also a lot of GameFi projects are looking at AVAX as well.
Right.
So yeah, it's got a lot of utility with some GameFi projects that are also on AVAX too. It's got its own ecosystem that's trying to compete as much as it can with, of course, Ethereum one being bigger, but yeah, it's caught up a lot. It's a lot newer than Ethereum, so.
Okay. What's the developer experience like?
I'd have to
I mean,
ask
I'm not a
some
developer,
developers more.
I'm not a developer, but it's like
What I've
where the
heard is a
developers
lot.
go,
Yeah, what I've
that's-
heard from developers telling me is that AVAX is a lot. Is more user friendly, easier to code with. Like I know one of my friends is developing a GameFi project right now that's on Ethereum, Matic, and AVAX. He's managed to figure out for all of them, which I mean, yeah, if you're into development, then you can definitely give a better answer to this one.
Well, it's more like what has the good developer experience is where the developers are going to go. Where the developers are going to go is what's going to end up, being where all the apps are going to
Yeah,
build.
and also where the VCs are also going. But that kind of becomes the centralized, decentralized argument too. A lot of people have been a bit turned off from Solana because it's so VC heavy. AVAX, it's another positive. AVAX is not as centralized as a Solana. You can break it all down and see which token fits exactly what you want to build for, what you want to invest in. It's some bonuses for one person might be a negative for other investors, as well. Potentially. Anyone else?
What do you, as there's more adoption, how much do you think the level of decentralization will matter? Like, is that most important just to the early people? You know what I'm saying? Like, the early people are really into decentralization, obviously.
Yeah.
But as it gets much bigger, how much will that play a factor, do you think?
That's a really good point as well, because this is also gonna come in line with the CBDCs that the government's been talking about a lot here. Like for us, that we're into our traditional crypto and decentralization, we're not going to want anything to do with the CBDCs, right? But the government is going to be bringing that out next year. Yeah, the central bank digital coins.
Yeah.
They've already been talked about by the new UK Prime Minister as well, and going to be a big regulation thing next year where these are going to be rolled out. For the people who have come from traditional crypto, who already get crypto investing, I think we're going to much prefer sticking with sticking with that. And the government's going to try and do its best to kind of get the more casual observers to get into their coins because they still retain control, of course, and that's going to be a lot more centralized. But I think that for the kind of for the early ones and the more investor-focused people like the decentralized aspect of cryptocurrency. So yeah, it's a balance.
In terms of portfolio weight, what are you doing at the moment? Holding cash, stocks, crypto?
Yeah, so I still got. Oh, do you mean crypto with
The
cash?
percentages.
Yeah, so
70% stock or 70% cash?
it's higher cash at the moment.
Yeah.
Stock. I've gone down in stock. I've been putting more into index because that's more stable at the moment. And also still got some property interest,
Okay.
but a lot more cash than normal.
Yeah.
And stock and crypto both down as well. Yeah.
And holding this accumulating cash for now.
Yeah.
If there's going to be a recession next year.
Yeah, money coming in at the moment. I'm just continuing to stock cash at the moment.
Yeah. Interest rates still rising. Unemployment is not high yet.
Not too crazy, but there's been the whole unemployment graphs have also been shaken up a lot by the working online movement that's happened over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people have just been quitting and wanting to do their own thing the last 2 years, which is like good for workers as well, I think. But it doesn't exactly represent always on the graphs that the government has. So,
Right.
yeah. Did YouTube ask any questions?
Oh, not yet. Just a minute.
What about you guys? Are you more interested in crypto, stocks, other stuff you got going on?
Just, I would say I would maybe ask more questions if my English was better. In general, I understand what you're talking about. Recently, I was also creating the NFT game, and I have some experience in that. I was just creating on the Binance Smart Chain, and no, I'm just keep listening. Maybe just
What, you a developer or?
I'm a developer, but when I was creating the project, I was a CEO, and we have another developer because we just give it for more experienced guy to develop all this kind of stuff. But we understood what we was doing. We actually was also analyzing all the different kind of projects as Axie Infinity, maybe as Illivium. At that time, it was also like Star Atlas, the project. And we just changed it a little. We took our tokenomics was like that. We have as Axie token, and as SLP we changed this a little. We take that ERC 1155 token and make it like SLP token. Just because it would be the game, it would be using in the game. So we just for like developer side, a lot of different players in the transaction they can. So they can just swap in the one transaction the tokens, the different resources of the game. So it's, I don't know, my English is not very well.
I get what you're saying. That was kind of an issue with the Ethereum blockchain, was that it was very expensive, transactional.
Yeah.
When you want to keep going in and out of tokens, then it makes more sense to build on other chains, right?
And also when the market goes down, we understood that most of the investors are not so interested in the gamified projects.
Yeah, it's been an issue with player retention for sure. Because I was doing an Axie Infinity guild last year, and like when the market started to pull back a lot, and SLP was really dropping fast, and the players were also out the door fast. But yeah, it was a good run and a good experience, and I still really like that concept. Though I think that when a new game is ready for better market conditions, then you certainly see a comeback for some GameFi projects.
especially if they're better games.
Yeah, of course, the game quality will certainly help too. It actually wasn't the most fun to play game. Well, some people liked it, but some people did enjoy grinding on that a few hours a day, but yeah, not really for the kind of more hardcore, sophisticated, gameplay oriented gaming. It's more like it was a little bit like a chess game, effectively, but more kind of exciting skill-based games as well would be nice to see.
Different strategies.
Yeah.
And also like with growing your own access and selling on the market, so give like a big opportunity. Just some people playing game and earning, some people just growing access, different.
Yeah. It was an interesting setup, but like seeing how it all interacted with each other.
How do you see, you know, for the most part, the gaming, the web, the regular gaming community has not wanted to do anything relating to NFTs, whatever.
Yeah, they've been pulled the wrong way by some of the negative publicity, I think, from earlier this year. Like, there's still been quite a negative sentiment in the general public with NFTs. Like, I think the more traditional investors and many gamers have been scared by the kind of number of rug pulls and scams that have been going on, which of course has happened. But the technology itself and the use case that will prove itself with some better developed and better tokenized games, I think, can help improve the reputation next year. Yeah, I certainly hope it improves, because once more actual gamers are interested in actually making crypto money while they're playing the game, then it makes sense to everybody. Any other question? Alright, cool. Thanks for watching, guys. I have my contact info here that the TokoCrypto box has gone over. If you guys don't already have my contact, it's Thomas Wolf on Instagram, YouTube, and Telegram. TOMASSWOLF. And Twitter, Thomas Wolf 1. Yeah. Thomas Wolf 1 on Twitter. My name, Thomas Wolf, on Telegram, Instagram, YouTube, if you want to hit me up for anything else. But yeah, cool. We'll have a little bit of networking time as well.